So our research relationships can be visualized as a series of concentric circles with permeable and changing boundaries. So you can see that the CRAC research team is the smallest group. It's got 12 members at the present. The CRAC research participant is a larger group with its 127 participants, and then the broader anti-authoritarian milieu, which is the largest group. So as we all know, social relationships in society are based on differentiation and stratification, whereas our research process challenges this by developing non-hierarchical relationships among all three circles. So this is not to devaluate a difference, but rather to acknowledge and account for differences, and collectively negotiating potentially unequal power relations in an attempt to undermine and ultimately dismantle them. So how do we put this into practice? First, within our collective, people participate in a variety of ways, from doing interviews to transcribing, then from laying out a monograph to writing or editing it, from working on transversal analysis to organizing and facilitating workshops, from writing grants proposal to giving conference talks, etc. These tasks are valued differently by society, but within our collective, they are seen as equally important and are rotated among members, skill sharing when necessary. We make all decisions collectively, including those of us who are faculty members. And collective members are paid the same rate regardless of their diplomas or if they are students or not, because we value experience and not just formal education as an important site of knowledge production. So in doing so, we are asserting our autonomy from the university hierarchy, and we attempt to create anti-authoritarian relationships of care. Then we have relationships with research participants, and for each group or network study, a CRAC researcher is responsible for the case study, and this person is also part of the network being documented. So in effect, participants are developing their own questions and interviewing themselves. Research questions are thus framed within an anti-authoritarian perspective, because for research to be liberatory, it must not take for granted existing knowledge, which might be constructed on androcentric, racist, or classist theoretical frameworks, thereby rendering the research process authoritarian and the results inconsistent with an anti-authoritarian prefigurative ethic. So within CRAC, therefore, interview participants, develop questions, they analyze the responses, they produce and collectively validate the monograph, and organize a public launch when it is finished, and we have discussions also when it is complete. So participants have ownership over the monograph and the research process, and they are involved at every step of the way. And then we also have relationships with the broader anti-authoritarian and anarchist milieu. And we do that through the monograph launches, militant research workshops, tabling at book fairs, presentations like this one, and other events. In the near future, we are also holding a weekend of reflection with the milieu to discuss our analysis and propose different themes for debate. So there are ethical questions related to privilege and audience as well. So we are creating multiple products for multiple audiences, and particularly focusing on the anti-authoritarian milieu being researched according to their needs and wishes, and not our own material or symbolic gain. So we are also building bridges with the wider activist and communitarian milieu in Montreal, so sometimes outside even of the anti-authoritarian milieu.
So just in conclusion,
I don't know if you
need this. In conclusion, our methods are derived from feminist and anti-authoritarian prefigurative value practices, and we struggle to make this work, obviously, in an imperfect world. We struggle to be inclusive and to provide opportunities for everyone to participate fully, but this doesn't always work out for a variety of reasons. We've also observed that there are mutual effects in our research. For example, The interview and validation process provided a space for reflection as one of the groups, Libertaire, wound down their organizing work, and we were able to sort of help out with that process. These struggles might be seen as part of the process of doing ethical research. We continually examine our practices within the ethical framework of anti-authoritarian prefigurative politics. And this is coherent with the idea that seems to be emerging from our findings of anarchism as process. So even in an anarchist society, for example, there would always be social relations to negotiate, and this applies to doing research in such a society. So it's important to have these kind of mechanisms in place, exactly what Chris was talking about. The ethical commitments of our collective thus both reflect and construct the project of revolutionary social transformation that is at the heart of, I'm assuming, all of our work here. Thanks. Are we done? Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.